Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of 3 teenagers. Today, my guest will be talking about your internal guidance system. And I know you really need that strong physical foundation to work on your mental health and your spiritual growth, whether it's overcoming anxiety and depression, losing weight, or detoxing your body in the proper way, and even increasing that level of frequency in your life. You need a strong physical foundation of health in order to gain the willpower to make the bigger changes in your life. If you're new to following me, I specialize in helping you get there. You can find my health articles, my cutting-edge natural supplements, devices, and protocols at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Accelerated Health Products is the sponsor of the show, so as you support my website, I'm able to bring you more cutting-edge content and guests to the show. Today, as I mentioned, we are going to be diving into your mental health and your internal guidance system. So first, I want to talk about some tools you can use to enhance the results you achieve, making it easier to improve your hormonal balance, improve energy, and actually reverse your aging. The goal is to improve mitochondrial health and increase energy at the cellular level so the neurons are firing in physical, mental, and spiritual growth. The first supplement is Accelerated Silver. This is what started my business with its amazing impact on my son, who was suffering from leukemia at the age of 9. Accelerated Scalar Silver is enhancing your immune system's ability to devitalize foreign pathogens, including viruses, bacteria, fungus, and parasites. If your immune system is bombarded with fighting foreign pathogens over here, it can't simultaneously engage in anti-aging mechanisms or autoimmune issues. By keeping your immune system strong, your body engages in those anti-inflammatory processes, leading to optimal health. And it's enhanced with scalar frequencies, like most of my accelerated products, to increase its efficacy, and no other silver solution has this. The second supplement is Accelerated Keto. This flips you into fat burning mode within 30 minutes, and your body taps into its own fat stores for energy right away. You feel great physically and mentally right away within that 30 minutes. And you have this feeling of, I can finally do this. I can do what I'm trying to do mentally and physically and even spiritually. When the body's running on ketones produced by the accelerated keto, combined with intermittent fasting and a low carb diet, instead of utilizing the glucose for energy, ATP production, which is your true cellular energy, significantly increases in the mitochondria, and mitochondrial biogenesis is optimized. Furthermore, additional ingredients in the accelerated keto breaks down saturated fats into unsaturated fats. What does this mean? Those fats are easier for the body to utilize and for the body to convert into ketones. So when you're fasting, the body fat is more readily available to burn for energy, which increases ketones and autophagy, which is the cleaning up of diseased and damaged cells in the body, and that is improved. Because of this property, accelerated keto is also able to defat the liver. And if you know me, you know I love my liver, and you got to take care of your liver. It is well known that the liver is responsible for converting stored fat into ketones. The more a person's fat or liver is defatted and unclogged, the easier it is for livers to function in all areas, including breaking down fat molecules into usable energy. It's also where the thyroid hormone converts T4 to T3. So as the liver functions better from the accelerated keto, the thyroid works better, increasing metabolism, mitochondrial function, and your energy. Also, accelerated keto has something called HMB, which prevents muscle wasting. So if you're trying to burn fat and lose weight, You're going to keep that really precious muscle on your body, which is hard to do when most people are on a diet. Also, there's something called organic mucal in the accelerated keto that's known to break down fats and provide an energy spark for burning those fats. So you get this extra fire in your body working for you. Next is the acceleradine. This is a supplement every single person on earth needs to be on. We are all deficient in iodine. It is no longer in our soils and our food. And the iodine that we are being fed through iodized salt usually has plastics in it and has toxins that our body can't break down. Sufficient iodine in all tissues and cells helps produce 18 times more ATP in the cells, which is that true cellular energy, and it's needed for brain function, physical performance, wound healing, fat burning, something called healthy apoptosis, which is the destruction on purpose of diseased and cancer cells. So when ATP increases, energy and fat oxidation increases, and it also improves metabolism and physical energy by supplying the necessary iodine for your thyroid hormones. As the thyroid is functioning optimally, the ATP is maximized. Exercise will lead to further health gains, and you actually will have the energy to want to exercise. So it's a double whammy. And acceleradine is the only monoatomic iodine that feeds the cells directly without having to be broken down like other iodine supplements. Most iodine supplements have toxic ingredients and are only 10 to 20% absorbed, where acceleradine is enhanced with the scalar frequencies like the silver, but also has 100% bioavailability. It also can reverse the damage done to the DNA by the graphene oxide, the heavy metals, and radiation that we are so worried about. Next is the accelerated ancient salt, and it is essential to have a full quality salt for the minerals in the salt to help with digestion, also to hydrate the cells. And I'm not talking about regular salt that is stripped away of all of the other minerals besides sodium. Accelerated ancient salt is negatively charged. It helps pull out the positively charged toxins, parasites, and undigested fats. And it is scalar charged as well to further enhance its frequencies, and it helps reset the DNA. It helps with nausea, digesting fats, rehydration at the cellular level. It has over 62 minerals in it. It helps with detoxification from radiation and heavy metals. And of course, it tastes amazing. I don't use any other salt on my food. Next are the stem cell patches. And the first one I want to talk about is the energy enhancer patch. You put them on, and within 20 minutes, you feel a boost of energy. It helps with heart rate variability, improves the bioelectrical measurement in the body, the phase angle, which is also the integrity of the cell walls. It reduces inflammation and increases endurance. Combine that with the accelerated keto and the acceleradine, and your energy is through the roof in a stable, non-jittery way. Your body is functioning the way it's meant to, and it improves digestion and circulation as well. Next is the X39 patch, which resets your own stem cells, over 4,000 genes in the body, to a younger state. Your body literally turns into its younger self. And as that's happening, everything works better. Everything works as if we were 20 years old again. It helps with collagen production, activating stem cells throughout the body, encourages that apoptosis of cancer cells that we've talked about. It also helps with organ balance and helps with energy. Now, to pair that with the X49, which is brand new, and I just am in love with this patch because it works on all the things that we really want to work on, like hair growth, reversing gray hair, burning fat, but not just burning fat, but building lean muscle. And for us women, especially over the age of 40, it is hard to keep that muscle mass on. So this helps with that. It also helps with osteoporosis and bone density. It is also helping that strength and endurance when we are exercising, and of course, supporting it with strength training and a low carb diet. So I give more tips and tools through my free group coaching. that yes, it's complimentary. I want to share this knowledge for free to as many people as I can. You can join with the link below on Telegram or email me through the website acceleratedhealthproducts.com. The difference between me and any other group coaching is I provide the most cutting edge frequency enhanced supplements that work synergistically with each other, and your body never experiences those flu-like symptoms. You truly feel great day one. Leave a comment below if you're interested, or check it out on the website acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Now to the good stuff. Zen DeBrucke is founder of Smart Soul Academy, which teaches her internal guidance system that has made her an international sensation. She's worked with over 40,000 people, including training 4,000 master students on the nuances of how to recognize and act on the messages of their IGS to achieve a peak life in alignment with their life's purpose. Wouldn't that be nice to just know what your life purpose is and to be able to follow it and know that you are on the right path? Welcome, Zen. Let's get into it. I'm so excited to have you on because it goes right along with everything that I teach at mind, body, and spirit. And if everyone could just have that like guardian angel on their shoulder or their inner guidance system to tell them what to do and when to do it, life would be just so much easier.
It is so much easier. Thanks, Sara, for having me. I really love it. And I love your products. I'm going to check them out. I'm so glad I got a little preview of all your stuff because it's right up my alley. I love the scalar wave technology and all of that stuff. So I'm super thrilled.
Amazing. And it goes along right with what you're doing, because I feel like if your body's not clean physically, you're not as in tune with what's going on, including your internal guidance system. But let's first start with your journey on how you got to even really tapping into this amazing system.
Well, thank you. I had a rough childhood. You know, it's kind of Jerry Springer-esque in a lot of ways, and drama and things going on and some abuse and things like that. And I don't want to go deeply into it because we have a short amount of time, but basically I came out the gate having sued my parents for emancipation to kind of get out from underneath the processes that they were involved in and the things that they were doing, and dropped out of high school and came out the gate pretty resentful, frightened, didn't know what to do, a lot of anger issues, and found myself trying to make my way in the world with this really bad attitude. And there's a lot of people who still liked me and everything, but I would do things like get in a fight with my roommate and end up living out of my car, or I was the one who liked to run, you know, so, or quitting a job and expecting the manager to come chase me down. Like, it's like, no, we can't survive in this business without you, you know, all that kind of stupid stuff that I would do. And I just sabotaged. And it was very painful. And I had a girlfriend who finally was like, you are creating this yourself. And I have this tape that I've heard from Abraham Hicks, little cassette tape. It's back in 1993. And she handed it to me because she wanted me to know about the law of attraction. She wanted me to see that what I put out, I get back. But what happened was, yeah, I was interested in that. But what really captured my attention was this conversation that they were in about, we all are born with an internal guidance system. And when we are feeling a tightness in the center of our body, that means that what we are thinking is not true, is out of alignment, and is carrying us away from what's going to work for us. And when we are feeling relaxed or an expanded feeling in our body, that means that we're in alignment. We're moving towards what is going to be successful and what's going to be, is going to be actually bringing us into our purpose and our happiness. Something about that, I must have rewound that in my little orange Honda Civic 1,000 times, like, what? You know, because I knew it was something. I mean, you know, that right before I did anything that really traumatically changed my life in a way that I didn't end up wanting it to, I had that lump in my throat and this sick, tight feeling in my solar plexus in my chest. So I went on a journey of trying to figure this out. I called them and they said, no, we just kind of, whatever questions are asked, we answer. We don't have any teachings. And I went from a high school dropout to getting my diploma, going to community college, going to UC Davis, getting my degree in international politics, starting my own import-export company, and then becoming one of the first technology CEOs in the world in downtown San Francisco with a team of 45 people and an office in London by following this experience of opening to opening to opening. And then what happened was the dot-com crash happened. And I knew that something was coming. I could tell my IGS was guiding me. IGS is short for internal guidance system. And what happened was I went down like everybody else. And then one night, because it's your thoughts, and in pivoting your thoughts, it opens up everything. I was sitting there thinking, this is horrible. I put all this work and this energy in, and now everything's falling apart and I'm a failure. And I realized I was super tight and closed. And I thought, no, what is this? What's happening here? And I thought, I'm just earning my experiential MBA. And I got this big flood of opening. And it became exciting after that. I was learning. Well, lo and behold, a lot of my friends in tech started asking me, either tell us the doctor that's giving you your meds or share what's going on, because you're okay. And you're making it through this, and you're making great choices, and you're still working with your teams. And so I started teaching the internal guidance system in my living room on the weekends. And lo and behold, I transferred out of tech after I got that situation all organized. And here I am, years later, from 1999 till now, having just really spent my life checking this out and researching it and figuring out how to get this into other people's lives.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I have the chills, and it's so funny because whenever I just sit and wait and I just stop and don't get so wrapped into the stress of the things that aren't going my way, and just really sit and go, okay, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this? It comes to me and it's like, okay, this is life. Like, this is a journey. We are supposed to pivot. We're not supposed to know A to B and that's it. From 0 to 100, our lifespan. No. That's not the way it works. And if you told me as my high school self that I'd be podcasting and being, own my own health company, I'd say, I don't know who you're talking about. I'm going to be in stocks and bonds. I'm going to be an economics major. I am going to be maybe just a mom. And I'm very shy. I would never put myself out there. So it's all of these things. And that's what I'm trying to teach my kids is, to enjoy the ride, right? Enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. And, I'm really glad that you figured all that out. A lot of people haven't. We have a lot of people right now that are coming to join the Smart Soul Academy, which is where I teach all this work, who are lost. They're hurting. They're in a lot of fear. They're concerned about their future. They don't know what's going to happen for their kids. And it really is a gift to be able to sit and be able to move your way through it. And I think that's one of the things that I'm so excited about, with us all having been born with this internal guidance system, this contraction and this expansion, because when you learn to tune into this and you are able to, I call it an opening, the expanded. In fact, we'll do an exercise here in a minute so we can, let your viewers check this out. But all day long, this expansion and contraction is happening. And that contraction we've labeled as stress, anxiety, worry, and fear. And when you're feeling that, you're actually being given guidance that what you're thinking is not true or not going to happen. And once you learn how to do these simple little practices and pivots and it opens back up, you feel safe again. You feel, confident and solid, and you have a real good way of knowing how to move through these times that we're in, which are pretty difficult for a lot of people.
Let's get into it. What is the internal guidance system?
Yeah. So what I'll do is let's go ahead and do a quick exercise. For those of you who can close your eyes, please do. And if you can't, don't worry, it'll still work for you, or you can come back and do the exercise later. But what I'd like you to do is just close your eyes and sit down wherever you're at. Feel the bottom of your feet. I'm not going to close my eyes because I'd like to be able to just make sure, but close your eyes, feel the bottom of your feet. You'll notice there's a warm tingling sensation that might start happening as soon as you start paying attention to your feet. And then pay attention to the palm of your hands. Once again, you'll get a little warm tingling that can happen. And I'm going to give you 2 statements as you stay focused on your hands and feet. And just let them kind of float through your mind like a cloud does through a sky. Don't analyze them. Just kind of like watch them float by. And notice if there's any sensation between your throat and your solar plex. And here's the first statement. Focusing on hands and feet. I do not have an internal guidance system. Notice any sensation. I do not have an internal guidance system. Now focus on hands and feet again. And here's the second statement. I do have an internal guidance system. Noticing any sensation. I do have an internal guidance system. Wiggle your toes, open your eyes. What was it like for you?
The first statement, I had a lump in my throat.
Yeah.
And definitely felt some tightness.
Yeah. And then the second statement?
It was all relaxed.
It left, huh? It evaporated.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So the first was that tight, it shows up like a lump in the throat, a tightness in the chest, or a sick feeling in the solar plexus. I call that a closing. It's just a pattern interrupt to notice what's happening in your body, the word itself. And then the second I call an opening, and that's a release. People say that there's like a rush, or they feel like they can breathe more, or there's like a little V expansion feeling that they have. And we call that an opening. And this is happening throughout all of our day, all day long. We're getting these contractions and expansions based on what we're thinking. And if we're thinking something that is not true for us, or out of alignment, or old programming, which I want to talk about because that's even more important. If we're thinking something like that, we'll get a tightness. It's a little alarm like, hey, this thought is carrying you where you do not want to go. And if we feel the release, or a neutral or an expanded feeling, those are thoughts that are intended to follow, to focus on, and to continue with. You're going in the direction of your blueprint, your purpose, what's going to work for you. And it gives us information about everything from, like, I'll be driving down the street and I'll have directions and it'll say go right, and I'll feel this tightness and I'm like, nope, it's left, and I go left and I get there. And it's little things like that, all the way through to arguments with my husband where he's telling me, he's like, I hate it when you manipulate me. And I think, I'm not manipulating him. And I close, which means what I'm thinking is not true and out of alignment. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, you're so influential and you just try to get me all excited about your ideas, and you don't let me think for yourself. And it's like a manipulation. And I got it. But everywhere in our lives, this is operating and happening all the time.
Oh my goodness. Well, I just laugh internally as what you're talking about, because whether you're talking to your kids or your husband, those things happen to all of us. Well, let's talk about the old programming.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a lovely example. I know you know this one because we talked about it before the show, but I want to ask everybody out there, what color is a yield sign in the United States? What's the first thing that you think of? I wish we had a way to do comments or people could dive in here, but what color is it for you, Sara?
Yellow.
Yellow. So that's the first one that you came up with. And so most people do see yellow and black. 90% of my audiences to 95 will say that. A yield sign in 1971 was changed to red and white. Since 1971, it has been completely changed by 1974, and they have all been red and white for years and years and years now. But the yellow and black yield sign is still in our collective consciousness. And I have people say, well, what about people who were born after 1974? Well, it gets reproduced all the time on billboards, on book covers, on T-shirts, the yellow and black yield sign, because that's what they think it is yellow and black, and they don't know the red and white. Even on Sesame Street in 2016, I saw the little yellow yield sign being bounced around by the guy who sang the snowman in Frozen. My 2-year-old son at the time saw the yellow and black yield sign, and it's now in his head with a song, which makes it even more, powerful. But the cool thing and the interesting thing is, well, it's not so cool actually. It's what's hurting us as a species on this planet. You can't just put more information into your brain and have it change. So even though, and I want you to talk about this, you knew, because you've done this before. Will you talk about your experience with the?
I listened to Zen talk about this twice. And the second time I heard it, I thought, oh, well, I know the answer to this. But my brain still said yellow.
Yes.
And it was like, wait a second, is that right? I was second guessing myself. And that stuff happens to me a lot, where I think to myself, okay, I'm now questioning myself again, what's in my brain. And it's just so powerful. Our brains are so computer-like. Yes. And I know that 97% of our thoughts today are the same as yesterday, and we have to actively change them. And it's just like changing habits. It's changing our thinking, right? Our reprogramming of our brain.
This is what's so cool. I'm so glad you brought that up, the whole 97% of our thoughts. Even if I ask you this again in a year, your mind will say yellow and black. Most of our programming happens between the ages of 0 and 7 when we're children. Everything that we see our parents doing, how they treat each other, how they treat us, how they treat our brothers and sisters different, how they treat the waitress, or server at the restaurant, all of this is being encoded and becoming our beliefs and our programming. So even if I ask you this in a year, you will still say yellow and black. But if I gave you a box of crayons and I had you draw the red and white yield sign, you would remember it for the rest of your life, because information putting new information into our minds does not update the programming. Your physical body updates it. And so this is what the cool thing is. When I first started, I did not know how to teach this because I went through trial and error in the 10 years that I used it before I got to people. So what happened was I figured out that I can't use people's brains to teach them how to use their internal guidance system. So the process is when your internal guidance system closes, you know that there's a thought that's not working for you. Then you have a tiny practice which allows you to pivot. And when that opening happens, you actually start a new neural pathway. So it's as if I'm giving you that red crayon to draw your yellow, the red and white yield sign. You're actually updating the neural programs in your brain. So what I researched, I just discovered it. I didn't create it. Everybody's been born with it. We actually have been born with a system inside our body that will update the neural pathways of our brain. It will change the program to our present moment when we use it. Think about that for a second. What's possible of being able to get rid of the 0 to 7 programming in the world of addictions and divorce and marriages and parenting issues that, people that had bad parents and they don't know how to parent, or our capacity to dream bigger dreams and have an opening that we know that we're going to be able to accomplish this thing together, or as a company, or what you can do in your career when you feel that opening that you can get that position that you're so scared of asking for, or whatever it is, right? We were born with a system that can change our brains, and we have it with us every single day, and it's always on and it's always working. And once you do the training to understand how easy this is, your life changes dramatically and quickly, because you don't have 97% of the same thoughts that you did yesterday. You're in the moment of constantly creating new thoughts about your health, money, intimacy, everything. And so it's pretty fast and a magical. In fact, I'd like to say magic and synchronicity become the norm about how different your life becomes when you start paying attention to this and changing your neural pathways.
So you're saying if you're tapping into your internal guidance system on a moment-to-moment basis, we are constantly moment to moment changing the neural pathways in our body and brain.
When it goes from an opening or from a closed sensation to the opening, that's when the neural pathway is being created. And when you stay with that opening sensation, that's when it's being reinforced. And the old program starts to, they call it neural extinction. It begins to actually die. So here, I'll give you an example, like a real life example. I picked up from my mother that everybody was talking behind our backs. She had this thing, she got it from her mom. If neighbors were talking and we drove by, she would immediately go into this place of fear that was us they were talking about. Well, that's brutal. If you live your life thinking that, it's painful. A lot of our head noise is what causes our suffering. And so that happened to me. I had that all the time. Well, then when I started using this, I realized that closed me. So I was like, they're not talking about me, open. Right. And I kept staying with that. No, that's not what's happening. And I could feel it. And I started changing that neural pathway. Well, a couple of years later, you don't even notice. This is the big thing. It changes and you're on to the next thing. You don't even think about it. It's gone. It's like it evaporates, right? These problems that we have. I was teaching a class and I'd had like a kind of an issue with a student the day before. And I was walking through the kitchen of the retreat center, and that student and another student were talking. And I got all the way into the room that we were teaching in, and it dawned on me that I had not had one thought that they were talking about me. Right? Not one, not anything. I mean, it was like, it just all of a sudden hit me. Like, I don't have that issue anymore. And so a lot of the students that work with Smart Soul Academy and they're doing these practices, what happens is these long-term things that they never thought they could get rid of. That's just who they are. It's their personality. They begin to go away. And this authentic new being starts coming through, of that. When you get rid of all that other stuff that people gave you, you start coming through. I think it's the number one thing that most people say and doing the work is, I really feel like me now. I actually feel like myself, because there's not all this head noise, this hijacking mental chatter that doesn't really belong to them at all. And there's a peace that happens. And over time, you just stay in the opening. Most of the time you live in this open experience, and occasionally you'll feel this closing, and then you fix it, shift, start the new neural pathway, and on you go.
I just love this. A lot of my clients will claim that they're addicted to food, or they can't get out of their own way to start exercising. And we are just a series of habits that go in and out and in and out. And we let the reptilian brain kind of take us through our day in a very monotonous, non-thinking way. And the fact that you are giving people this power to make these changes is amazing, because that's what people are just dying to have, to take their power back. And they feel, when we're all under this fear and stress of what's going on, maybe globally, it's hard to stay in your power and to tap into this guidance system or your intuition even more so, right? It's just survival. We're just trying to put one foot in front of the other.
Well, the other thing I'm finding, like workshops and seminars and even coaching and books, we're just dumping more information in, but it's not creating the transformation. Lots of things that we have in our mind are like the yellow yield sign. So for instance, I'll give you a quick example. I had a student at the academy who she thought she had an eating disorder and had been spending years trying to get rid of this overeating, binging disorder that she believed she had. Well, when she was closed, one of the things is when we're on these live coaching calls, these group coaching calls, I can feel when people close. I'm like, I said, does that open you? And she stopped and she says, go ahead, say it again. I have an eating disorder. And she goes, no, I'm closed. I said, then that means it's not true. And she said, I just want you to hold the thought that maybe you don't have an eating disorder. And she was like, she goes, I just opened, but my mother is the one who told me that I had this eating disorder. I said, well, tell me about your life. And she goes, well, I get up around 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I work nights. And then what was happening is she was going through her day, starting at 11, having dinner at 10, and then beating herself up because she was eating so late, because you're supposed to stop eating at 6. Well, not if you're getting home at 4 o'clock in the morning from work. That's her dinner. That was like her big dinner time. Her lunchtime was 10 to 11 o'clock. She shifted her habits by following her IGS and completely left her within about a week. The whole thing that she had been working on for over 18 years, I got chills, disappeared because she was working on the wrong thing. And we do it all the time. We have so many things about ourselves that we think are broken or wrong, and they're not. They're false. They're old programming. It's not true. So this becomes such a relief when you start really getting to know who you are, and you've got this system that's calling up your yellow yield signs and showing you how to shift them. It's profound, the change.
I love this. Well, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with Zen DeBrucke. Welcome back to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sara Banta, the owner of Accelerated Health Products. And today we have Zen DeBrucke talking about our internal guidance system. So Zen, is this accessible to anybody, or can you tell us who is not able to use this, or what could be blocking them?
I have not had any trouble teaching anyone to use this. There's several different types of mind that comes in. We all don't have the same type of mind. So there's a lazy mind who doesn't want to do the work. There's the mind that is overdoes it, is constantly like questioning itself, the questioning mind, and they're just like, I don't got it. Some people have issues with their body, like they've been through enough trauma to where they are afraid to tap into their body. And then there's people who are super analytical. Their minds are very powerful, and so allowing themselves to be able to kind of give that control. The mind it makes it difficult to give that control over to another source of information. But it doesn't really matter, because in creating Smart Soul Academy, what I've learned is I have this very unique way of teaching, which I call the Miyagi approach. Do you remember wax on, wax off from the Karate Kid? So I did not know how to teach this. I had the first 8 years I was teaching, I was horrible. I was doing lectures and books and workshops. I'd call people up 2 weeks later and I'd say, how's it going with your IGS? And they're like, oh, I forgot to use it. And that's what most people find, is they get this information and then they go right back to the habits you were talking about. Mm-hmm. Well, I learned that I can't go through the mind. I have to go through the IGS. So we start with the tightness. And when you feel it, I can then give a series of practices to find the type of thought. Like irritation's always with a person, frustration's always with a situation or a thing. Procrastination's always divine timing. And there's 4 questions you can ask yourself about anything you're procrastinating on. So there's tiny little practices. So you find out what the thought is. I give you the information, the how to pivot, you open back up and you're off. And so you learn about your mind and all these things, but it's really just, you go through the IGS into transforming the mind without letting the mind get involved. So all those different minds I just talked about, and people who can't feel their body and things, I'm able to manage that through this very unique revolutionary teaching style, this method that I've created that is so fast and quick. And the other thing is you don't want to get your mind engaged. Okay, right off the bat. You use it later when the mind begins to trust the internal guidance system. Then the mind becomes this incredible imagination asset that gets your manifestation skills and your capacity to create things in the world on fire fast. But in the beginning, we just do like a 10-minute lecture. I give you practice. You go do it. Come back. The next lecture says, this is what you should have experienced. And you go, I did it. I did experience that, and then you get the next practice and the next one and the next one. And within 2 to 3 weeks, there's massive changes in the way that you're interacting with the world. Stress goes away, because stress is guidance, along with anxiety, worry, fear, overwhelm, rushing, guilt, doubt. All of those are closing things that we've named, but they're actually guidance that has a particular type of thinking attached to it that can be transformed and reprogrammed as you're going through your day.
Oh, I am signing up. Okay, so I've talked to my kids about waking up in the morning and imagining what they want their day to be like, and that they can manifest that. So could you take us through how they could apply what you're doing or teaching to that process?
Yes, great question. Well, I use a practice called flow. It's called feeling light, open, and wise. And if there's anything at all that you don't like in your life, or that's not working for you, what we do is there's a process, and you start off with feeling the closing about the thing you're not liking and figuring out what it is. And then you ask yourself, what would be better than that? And what would make it even better than that? And you have to search for a little bit. You're thinking, because your first response would be like, well, I want that person to get fired so I don't have to work with them anymore. It's like, no, that'll close you. Maybe, but usually it'll close you. So you have to kind of go away from the reaction of the mind. And it's like, I want them to not bother me. I want to be able to get along at work and have it just roll off my back and there's no effect anymore. And that may be the thing that opens you. We call that a divine purchase order approved when you get an opening like that. What you do is you just let it go. You got the opening. That's the true thing. That's the desired effect that's coming your way, or something better. And then you drop back into this practice that we have called flow, where you stop and you feel your hands and feet again. And there will be something in a few seconds that comes up out of your body and will begin to actually move you into the world. I kind of equate it to like if you're, making Thanksgiving dinner and you're mixing this and kicking the door shut with your foot there and having this and turning this timer on and telling this person to cut the tomatoes, and there's a flow and energy to it. Or dancing is another one where you go to the beat before your body's there, before your mind can get you there, because it feels so right. We all have these energies of flow. Well, the main way we're supposed to be living is in this flow experience. And in that flow, there's no resistance. And when something comes up that closes you and that is not working for you, you use the practices to get back to open, and you open up that channel again. And so there's a leading that happens in your body, and life becomes this full formed dance with what you're perfectly here to do. I believe everybody has significance and belonging, and that we have 100,000 life purposes or more. it's smiling at the cash register person, that's giving you your coffee, or asking them how they are, giving somebody a book, or starting a health food business like you are, a health supplement business like you are, right? Or doing the coaching that I'm doing. All of us, when we use this flow, these things that we're supposed to be a part of naturally happen. And the things that we're not go away. They literally start shedding away, and things become very clear. And so for your kids, I would have them sit feeling their hands and feet in the morning and wait until this energy comes up out of them to get out of bed. And you may think, well, they'll never get out of bed, right? But it's not true. There'll come a moment where once you tap into this, where it feels natural. Like, I don't use an alarm clock. And when I have to, because I'm afraid like I'm going to miss the flight, I always wake up 1 minute before it's going to go off, which I love because I don't want that jarring energy in the morning.
Yeah.
And so this thing happens. It just begins going through, and there's a perfection. And I think all of nature is operating in this. Whales migrate into it. Seeds come up out of the ground. The wind moves through the sky. The trees know when to, leaf out, like they are right now in spring. And we are now getting the tool to be able to start becoming a part of that. And once more people begin to learn how to do this, I think we're going to see a dramatic change in our species, and a lot of our fear dropping away, and our capacity for true contribution and joy moment to moment. And that is the solution that I believe we need to the desperation and the loneliness and the anxiety and fear that we are in right now. It's not consuming massive amounts of media to put more information in our head to feel safe. It's dropping into where safety always resides and learning how to move from there. So we're always in the right place at the right time, doing our thing that we're here to do.
Well, and as you're talking, what comes to my mind is the effect of doing this practice and being successful on it, or with it, how it will actually positively impact your physical health. Yes. Because of course, stress is so detrimental to your physical health. And I tell my clients all the time, it doesn't matter what you're eating or what supplements you're taking. If you're stressed out and not sleeping, your health is going to go out the window. And so if you are able to take control of your thoughts, your mind, and your physical health, and they all feed on each other, your health, you're going to be at an optimal level in body, mind, and spirit. And I just love this. Well, we've got a few minutes left. I want to know, can you use the system to see the future, see what you're supposed to be doing in the future, kind of like that magic 8-ball?
Yeah, I think it's pretty funny that you said magic 8-ball, because this is not a yes or a no system. Like it really is more like the hot cold game. Because what happens when you get an answer on the magic 8-ball that you don't like?
You shake it again.
Shake it again, baby. You shake it again. Exactly. And so the cool thing about this is it is always giving you information. So it's more like playing the hot cold game when you're a kid. You get an opening. And those large openings, I kind of think of it as a compass, and north would be like ecstatic. You've got this creative idea and you can't stop thinking about it. It's business or this, whatever it is. And then from north, it kind of keeps going down. East or west is neutral. And most of us who have been practicing and mastering this just live in this beautiful, neutral, peaceful place. And then it goes down all the way down to south, could be terror, a panic feeling, that on the way to the airport and you go, oh, did I leave my ID? Right? That feeling is that kind of way it is. And so it's not that it's interesting, because one of the questions is destiny versus, you having self-control over your future, right? That's a big question for a lot of students, because we don't know. What we do know is that the things that open us are the things that we desire most in our lives, that are perfect for us as people. And if you follow this, it's not as if you can see the future, but over and over again, that thing that you open to or something better happens over and over and over. And then the path to get there is led through this flow, this opening, going from the next right thing to the next right thing. So you can feel that you're moving into that future with a faith and a solidity in your body. That are you seeing the future, or are you creating the future through the energy of your body? Right. And so I don't know, it's one of the most fabulous things is once, we have a lot of people that know how to do this now, and the great conversations we can have about spirituality and connection and what's happening here and fourth dimensional things. And, all of that really is part of what we get to experience as a community. is these great conversations, and I don't know. I don't think we can see the future, but I do know. Real quick story. I was in the Denver airport. Let me give you this. This is interesting. These things are magic and they do happen. It was shutting down because of weather. I had a friend with me. I was teaching the next day in San Francisco. They said, "Go, you got to go get a hotel. We're shutting everything down." As we're leaving the airport, we were both closed. I was like, "Are you closed?" Because I'm starting to think about hotels and how am I going to cancel this class I'm teaching and all that, right? He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm feeling open to stay at the airport." So we go back. People are telling us we're crazy. What are you doing here? You should leave. And I'm explaining it to them. And they're like, "Okay." About 2.5 hours later, this flight crew comes in. There was a break in the storm. They come in. They're going to San Francisco. We were the only 2 people on the flight, which is really creepy, by the way. It's like, ooh, I don't know, whatever, and I made it. Now, how did it know that? And students all the time, we had somebody who didn't have a plane ticket. She thought she didn't. And she's on every group coaching call going, "I still don't have a ticket, but when I go to buy it, I close. And I have this conference I've already paid for." About 2 weeks before the conference, her husband came in with a credit card bill and was like, "What's this charge?" She had done all the research. It was late at night. She bought it, never got an email, thought it didn't go through. And in the morning, when she went to buy another ticket, she closed. And she had a ticket the whole time. So as far as the future thing, I don't know. But as far as tapping into an extraordinary wisdom that we don't normally have access to, and it's consistent, that is happening for people who are studying this.
I have felt that just as you're talking. I mean, I definitely, in a very elementary way, without your schooling, have felt that strength of, I guess it would be an opening and closing guidance system. I just had called it more of my intuition. And what's happened with me, and I'll tell you just a quick thing that happens with me where I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, is that a lot of times my body will physically have an ailment out of the blue. And I'll say, "Oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with this skin rash? What is it?" And I've got my scanning devices, I've got my treatments, I've got my supplements. I test things on and I figure out what it is. Within a week, I will at least have 2 to 3 people come to me with the exact same ailment. And then I think, okay, God, that's why. And this is what I'm doing. And this is the answer to your problem as well. And I have independent sources, whether it's a scanning machine or a mentor or a practitioner, confirming these things that are going on with me. And they don't know each other. They're not talking to each other, but everything's confirming what my intuition is telling me. And it's just confirming that. So I just wanted to touch on that.
True. That's what happens when you're in alignment. That's it. And I have the same thing. I'll go through something and then tons of students will need it in the next 3 weeks. And I'll be like, "Oh, okay, here we go." And same thing. And that is part of being aligned. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, we are out of time, but before we go, please tell everybody where they can find you and where they can sign up.
Yes. So go to Smart Soul Academy. Okay. It's www.smartsoulacademy.com. And there we have a membership. It's very affordable. It's monthly. And if you sign up on the email list, I will give you the very first 2 practices. The first practice, so you can feel this and see the difference. The first practice connects your mind with your internal guidance system, and it will get you started right away. And then the second practice goes more deeply into that one that I was talking about with the divine purchase order approved. So you can start finding your openings. So go to Smart Soul Academy and sign up on the list.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I will be signing up. Thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you everybody else for joining us today. If I can help you with your health issues, you can contact me directly through the website or join the free group coaching on Telegram. There's no downside. And you have this great like-minded group that's supportive and loving and teaching each other. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram under Accelerated Health Products and my YouTube channel, and over 100 podcast platforms, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, or whatever podcast platform you subscribe to. If you like what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and share with a few of your friends. I don't know anyone who doesn't need to hear Zen from today. So as you share my channel, it also helps me help more people like you and bring more cutting edge guests to the show. Join us live every week on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time. You can also use coupon W4HC20 for 20% off site-wide. Thanks again and see you next week.